Hey mamas, today's episode is so emotional for me. I'm doing a solo today in celebration of my dog Cooper's life. And I'm recording it, thankfully, when he's still alive, because I think it gives a lot of perspective when it comes time to put your dog down. But I want to start the episode off with just like the most beautiful story on how I got Cooper, because I think it really helps restore some faith in just having hope and things being serendipitous, and the whole saying of like, if it's meant to be, it will be. Let's dive into it. Hey mama, it is Celia from Bougie Mom Friends. If you are trying to find balance being an amazing mom while still trying to find time for you, you are in the right place. My co-host Cammie and I are here to talk about all of the things from trusting your instinct with your kids to carving out space for self-care and even indulging in a little pop culture escape. It's all about real conversations with moms who get it, because we're all about thriving, not just surviving. So take a breath, grab a drink, and join us, your Bougie Mom Friends. So it was like going back to like 2017. No, earlier, 2016. I told James when I had first met him, I want a red Australian Shepherd and I want to name him Cooper. Okay, so this is like right when we meet. I grew up with an Australian Shepherd named Sydney, red Aussie, very good temperament, wasn't super hyper as she got older. And it just really felt like my dog. And she obviously had passed away. And I always told myself when I got to the age where I was mature enough and financially stable enough to have a dog, that I was going to get a Sydney. And so one day, I don't know like why, but it was like a few months after I had met James, I just Googled a red Australian Shepherd named Cooper. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I just put that into Google and a listing popped up, and the listing popped up in Michigan. And I was like, there's no way. This is probably like some old index page, but let's go ahead and give it a call. And sure enough, there was a listing for this red Australian Shepherd named Cooper about an hour and a half away from me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to definitely go see him. I had met puppies and different dogs and different Australian Shepherds. They had to pass the poof poof test. And basically the poof poof test, because Australian Shepherds are just full of hair, full of life, is I would just like poof poof the chest hair. And if the dog could sit still enough to enjoy that, like I knew it was like a Sydney. And so we drive all the way out to see this dog. And I remember calling my grandpa and he was so excited for me. And I remember telling James, like, I'm going to get this dog. And he was not excited because we just started dating. He's like, we're not ready to get a dog. And I was like, back off, Bucko. Like, this is my dream. This has nothing to do with you. And I was like, if you're not going to be positive, don't come. And so he says, no, I'll be positive. I want to support you. So he comes. And we get to the house and it's an Aussie rescue and there's a foster mom. And you could tell she like really loved Cooper and she was going to have a very hard time letting him go, rightfully so. And I'll never forget, like me and Cooper bonded like no other. He was very hesitant of people, but he would let me come up and pet him. I got to take him for a walk. And then all happening without me knowing, I guess, is James telling the foster mom, like, oh my gosh, she wants this dog, blah, 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 blah. And I could tell like the foster mom did not like James because she was saying things like, oh, he's too positive. I don't know if Cooper likes him. Like she was just very unique. And so we left because there were other people coming to see Cooper. And I remember thinking like, okay, I'm not leaving this area. Like we're just going to stay until she calls us to say if we get him or not, because she was able to make the decision. And I got the phone call later that night. We're out to dinner and I find out that I didn't get the dog. She was going to give it to a family with young children. She thought that was like the best for Cooper. And I was devastated. I was so heartbroken. And I was even more heartbroken because I thought maybe there was a chance that I didn't get it because she didn't vibe with James, which she just didn't. And long story short, it was just like a really hard thing for me to get over. Well, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the Australian Shepherd Society. And they said that the family gave Cooper back because he would not go into their home. Like he would spend hours running from them. So they finally gave him back, which was crazy to me after I had met this dog. I was like, oh my gosh, he was just so nice. He just sat there. He let me pet him. Like, what are you talking about? He wouldn't go back in their house. It blew my mind. And they were like, do you still want him? And I was like, yeah, where is he? I'll be there to pick him up like right now. It was like my moment. It was like a phone call I just never expected to get. And I really, truly like to think that it's because he wanted me. Like we were kind of like serendipitously meeting and then finding our way back to each other. And so I go and it ends up being at that lady's house and I call her and I'm like, you know, like I heard it didn't work out. I'm going to come get the dog. The rescue company called me and she was like, well, you know, he just started smiling again and it's Easter weekend. So I think you shouldn't come get him until like a Monday. And I remember through the phone saying, listen, lady, they told me I could get him today. I'll be at your house. And I go to get the dog and Cooper hops right into my car. And that's where our life begins. That story in itself, even though it sounds like a little fabricated, is exactly what it is. Like we truly found each other in life. He's always been just my number one pup. Like he's just the best dog, like the best dog you could ever think of. And we've had him for, 2017, 2024, quite some years. He's 11 years old. Aussies get bad arthritis. And, you know, over the past week, he just can't walk anymore. We took him to the vet and they gave us some last measure medication. And they said, you know, give this 10 days. If it doesn't help, then obviously it's time to put him down. And I'll be honest, we're not giving it the 10 days because he's still tanking right in front of my eyes and it's just too hard to watch. Like he can't even wake up. He can't move. And I'm realizing like to even give it the full 10 days is just so selfish. Because I feel like a lot of times when you know your dog's not well and their quality of life is gone, they can't walk, they can't run, they can't go for walks. Like they're having a hard time moving, like they're not moving as much. If you've already consulted your vet and discussed your dog's condition, then I think the most compassionate option is to ease the guilt that you're holding inside. I know it comes with a lot of uncertainty and it's such a difficult decision, but you really need to consider the timing because it's just not fair to the dog. And it's just so hard to make the call. And I was tossing back and forth between going to a vet to have it done versus now they offer at-home services. And the cost of at home, yeah, it's a lot. And if you can afford it, think about how much that dog has given you stability. I mean, Cooper has been there for all of my hard times and has loved me unconditionally. I remember coming home from having a baby after the 2 weeks in the hospital. I was not feeling like myself. And I have two dogs. I have Cooper and Gunner. Cooper we rescued. Gunner we got as a puppy. And I remember my hormones in my body postpartum, especially on the blood pressure medication from having post-preeclampsia, I literally was not myself. And I remember going to pet Gunner. I couldn't feel him. Like it just felt like fur. It felt like substance. I couldn't feel the soul behind the dog. But Cooper, I could. And I still felt the love for Cooper that I had before having a baby. Like the only love I had during that period was Lakin. Like he was the only person that I had like an emotional connection to because I was just so out of whack. But I still had love for Cooper. So like if that says anything, to make the phone call to schedule the at-home procedure to put him down made me feel like I was like murdering an animal. And let's just be honest, like it's not a fun thing to do. And I make the phone call to schedule the at-home procedure. It's a vet in the area and we schedule it. He talks to me and I just felt like, yes, this is the right thing to do. But I seriously felt like a murderer and I still feel unsettled to make a phone call to put an animal down, but I know it's for the best. But one thing that I learned, because, you know, like my biggest question outside of just Cooper is Gunner. Like I have 2 dogs. If I were to go to the vet, Gunner would just never see Cooper again, which would be, in my opinion, bizarre. And so I asked, what's the best practices if you have 2 dogs? And the doctor coming over said, it's good you're doing it at home because the best practice is to ensure that your second dog sees the dog that's passed so that it knows. And so we made a decision that Gunner will be there during the time when Cooper passes over. And I think that in itself makes me even more emotional because Gunner has had Cooper his whole life. Like they literally do everything. When they go to like the pet resort, they share like a room. Like those dogs are like bonded. I think it takes a lot of like grief you need to process before you even go to put a dog down, especially if you have multiple dogs, because it's like not just a one-step process. You have to now prepare for your second dog. You have to allow them to say goodbye. You want your dog, your second dog, to see and smell the body because that helps them understand that their companion is passed and it allows them not to feel like they were abandoned. Another thing is too, like it's factually known that dogs grieve too. I'm not looking forward to watching Gunner potentially like go through withdrawal, you know, like if he starts to get anxious or he loses his appetite, like now we have to have a plan to make sure that we're like really maintaining Gunner's routine and then also giving him even more attention. But I think the hardest thing right now for me is like taking care of myself, especially being a working mom and a wife and the one to make the decision. And then having the second dog, I have not had time to fully like process my own grief or even begin to think about my healing process. But I will say the one thing that we did, and what's actually happening today, because I'm recording on a Sunday, this post on a Tuesday, is when we told some of our friends and family that we were going to put Cooper down. We were so surprised how many people like wanted to come see Cooper and like care about him. So we have people coming over all throughout the day to say goodbye. And then the other thing I've been doing is staying active. So like obviously you want to spend as much time as possible with your dog, but also too, it's really therapeutic, I think, during difficult times to take yourself out of the house or do something that's going to help you feel good for a little bit. So even if it's just walking around the mall, taking your second dog on a walk, like just doing things that, you know, are giving you space, but also like you're connecting with your second dog, because I think a lot of times you tend to pull back in situations like that. Like if you're going through a lot emotionally, maybe you pull back from your husband or you pull back from, you know, other animals. And I think it's really nice to be close to family and force yourself into like not creating new memories, but just engaging in like a fresh bond with the new normal. It's definitely a tough situation. I know that when you go to put a dog down, there's a lot of things you have to consider for memorializing your dog. So some options they allow you to do is like cremation, where they'll take the body and then bury it at like a animal cemetery, or you can have a private cremation, or sometimes they'll bring you the ashes. We haven't for sure secured it, but I don't think we're keeping anything. I thought about it, and I think what we're going to do is, like create maybe like a Cooper book, like a memorabilia book. I made like a Cooper celebration of life video, and I'm just going to do something that is a keepsake to us that doesn't necessarily mean that we're keeping him. And I think that for me, my time to heal and my acceptance is just knowing that Cooper was a stunt. Is that what they call the dogs? Like where he was just there to breed puppies. Like that was his whole purpose. I think Cooper has like 50 kids. Like I'm not even joking by the time we got him. And so that's why I always say Cooper was so chill, is because he was tired of making babies. By the time we got him, he's just been the most relaxed, compassionate, loyal dog. And I just know that we gave him a good life. Before I get to the end of this episode, I want to go into being a mom of a toddler. Cooper's whole mission, like this dog's whole mission, is to take care of the baby. Like to the point where it scares me now that he tries to drag his body because he just wants to be next to Lakin. We decided that obviously Lakin will not be there, but we've just been telling Lakin like, hey, he's sick. He's not feeling well. Cooper's old. Cooper's going to go to heaven soon. And last night, unsolicited, Lakin kept giving Cooper hugs and kisses. So like, know your toddler understands what you're saying. And it's really beautiful to see the compassionate side of toddlers to take care and know their dogs and like love them. And I think any extra love you can give during this time, and a way to appropriately communicate with how old your child is, to make sure that you're having open conversations. And Lakin's only 2, and I think it's appropriate for me to tell him, Cooper's sick. He's going to go to heaven soon. The last thing is I'm spoiling this freaking dog. Okay. He had last night for dinner, Shake Shack bacon cheeseburger. Okay. Us as a family didn't even get this. Cooper had a pork chop that he's ate the best. We're making him like a filet mignon tonight. Like Cooper's going out in style, and we have to put Gunner away because Gunner's like, why does Cooper get all this food? Like homie, even though he can't move, took down a whole bacon cheeseburger. I cut it up, sliced it up for him. The only thing he left was the tomato. He was like, nope, don't want this, but I'll take everything else. And I think that's something that's really important to do as your dog passes, is like give them their favorite things, like treat them good. I've read that people even give their dog like chocolate cake, which I'm not going to do. Like for me, like I don't understand that, because if it's poison to them, like why would we assume that they would eat that and like that the same as we do? And most likely that chocolate cake, after reading Instagram and seeing Leads for Mama, everything's poison. We shouldn't even eat the chocolate cake. But long story short, Cooper, your dog, if you're going through this, even if you're not going through this, I hope this episode was helpful in the future. Keep your animals close. Give them lots of love. And remember, especially if you have multiple dogs, you really do need to prepare and have a game plan together. So in the description of this episode, I'm going to list resources. I'm also going to link out to a blog that gives you the tips and tricks on how to plan and prepare for yourself emotionally, prepare for multiple dogs in your household, how to take care of yourself and your family, and then also to the recovery that you need to do this. If you're wondering why I'm not snot-nosing this entire episode, it's because right now I'm mama bear for my household and I need to make sure that everyone's good. But I'll tell you what, tomorrow, when I take the day off and I spend the rest of my time with Cooper, I'm going to be a hot mess. I promise, though, I'm taking Cooper. I'm going to have James pick him up. I'm going to put him in a wagon and I'm going to take him around the park one last time because that was like his favorite thing to do. So like, get creative, find ways to spend time with your dogs. And just know if you're going through a pet loss, take the time for yourself, take the day off. Don't go to work that day. Take care of you and you'll be good. It's going to be better. It's going to be tough, but it's going to get better. So have a wonderful week. I'm sorry if I depressed you, but it's just a fact of life. And I think it's important to talk about these things. On Thursday, we have part 3 of Dr. Noah, and he's going over just having a holistic, unique approach to your health. And then also to biblical teachings and how some of the biblical verses are present today with herbs and remedies. And he makes a lot of correlations that like we were just like completely blown away by. So it's going to be a really great episode. And if you haven't listened to part 1 or 2, please go back and listen. And then as always, if you love our content, if you want to be a bougie mom, if you just want to support us, 2 working moms that are trying to get really good resources to you, if you could go to Spotify or Apple and rate the podcast a 4 or 5. We prefer a 5. If it's anything less, do not do it. Just joking. But if you could rate the podcast, that would mean the world to us. So have a wonderful week. We love you and we appreciate your support.